If Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua were to take place in the not too distant future, would you want that mega fight to take place in Saudi Arabia? No, me neither. Eddie Hearn has been doing some talking recently, as he likes to do, and he has said that if Joshua Fury goes ahead in the not too distant future, then it has to take place in Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi has really picked up speed in terms of being a hotspot for sports in general. With boxing, it had its first world title fight between George Groves and Callum Smith. It, of course, hosted the big rematch between Joshua and Andy Ruiz. And now Eddie Hearn is talking about it as possibly the front runner if the mega fight happens between Joshua and Fury. It would feel like such a shame as a Brit. The fact he's created this new era of stadium fights that used to be the norm way back when. He's recreated it. People are coming out in number that we haven't seen in decades. There was the real big shift when we had Froch Groves 2 in 2014. And with each Joshua Stadium fight, we feel like we've been building towards this crescendo of an encounter, which would be Joshua against Fury if Fury especially manages to beat Wilder in the rematch. But if it takes place in Saudi Arabia, as many big fights have done recently, I think it would just highlight its main drawback as a venue, which is the lack of atmosphere. It's not to do with the fact that you can't drink there, it's to do with the general rules, and it feels like everybody is on their best behaviour. Where's the raucous atmosphere, that bloodlust that is usually present in the crowd? Sometimes a dark atmosphere, sometimes idiots breaking out into fights which can take away from the action in the ring, but that same spirit is part that creates that magnetic relationship between the fight inside the ropes and the spectators. Going way back to Old England, there has been that same bloodlust, the main reason that we connect to it. And in the great fights, you see people really catch fire and make noises like you rarely do in any other sport. If I think of some great atmospheres like Tito Trinidad against Ricardo Mayorga, Madison Square Garden, was that 2005? Mayorga telling Tito to hit his chin with the left hook bombs and then everyone absolutely loving it. The Barrera Morales fights, the passion that created in the crowd. And the legions of fans that the likes of Ricky Hatton led to Las Vegas. There's just such a raw passion there, which I don't think you're going to see ever really in the more subdued, print-speckled audiences of Saudi Arabia. Now, money, of course. If there's some truth to what I've heard, and it might not be true because I saw something put in the headline of The Sun, which if you know anything about The Sun in the UK, it's an absolute toilet rag of a newspaper. But they were talking about Saudi doubling whatever Eddie Hearn could come up with for, say, Joshua Fury in the UK. If there's any truth to that at all, if you can double a fighter's paycheck, then it's really hard to argue against it. But it would be such a shame. For me, it would be money over memories, because part of what goes into the legend of these great fights is the atmosphere. What was going on? What flavour did it have? If we're just going to keep hammering out these fights in the desert, I think boxing, apart from everybody's wallets, is really going to lose something.